All right, welcome to the Intuition Summit. This is Abby Gooch and Emmy Vadnais, and we are so happy you're here. And I'm going to give you a little sneak preview into Emmy because she's a dear friend, soul sister, and family now to me because I just love her so much. And she is actually going to lead us into our whole tagline of this entire summit, which is how to trust your inner knowing. So this woman has been doing this like her entire life. She has a very successful business. She's an author. She works alongside amazing people, and I just adore who she is. So I would like her to just share a bit about how she got started. So, how did you get started into trusting your intuition, your inner knowing, and really helping so many people? I know you help thousands of people.
I just love and adore you too, Abby, and I'm so grateful to connect with you and all the people who are listening. My intuition really, well, like all of us, it's been with me since I was a little child. And before that, of course, I think that when I really started to trust it was when I was going through becoming a new professional as a licensed occupational therapist. And my gut, my stress levels, let's be real, my anxiety was telling me to not stay on that path. And I am still working as an occupational therapist in some fashion. However, I really got into the holistic healing arts because I just couldn't stay in some of those settings. I wasn't able to fully express all of the ways I was meant to serve and the different gifts that I have. Additionally, around that time, one of my family members was newly married, and I started having dreams about them being pregnant. I started having dreams about their child that was to come. And I got to the point of having these dreams over several weeks where I finally told this person, and they said, "Oh my gosh, I just got back from the doctor and I found out that I'm pregnant." And it turns out that they conceived very close to their wedding, and I would see this person like pregnant in their wedding dress. And I actually saw the child. I knew what they looked like. I knew their gender. I knew their personality. I knew what family members they looked like in the family. So when this child was born, I felt like I was just meeting them again. Now, what really brought it home for me in a really powerful way was that happened two other times with the same family member. So all three of their children, I had precognitive dreams about the soul coming to earth before the mother even knew that they were pregnant, or maybe they had some idea, but they were really in the state before they really had any biological signs, and certainly didn't have a pregnancy test at that point, and zero ultrasounds because they were so just a few weeks into their pregnancy. And one was actually, I started having dreams about the child months before they were even pregnant. So that really told me and taught me there's something more going on than meets the eye in our often materialistic world.
What I love about what you said is there's like this precognition, like this knowing of something that it's going to happen before it happens. So that's a great definition of intuition. I'd love for you to expand on that because I feel like deep down we already know, right? And so to trust that inner knowing of what we know and to use that precognition as like, ooh, wait, like, do I want to go this way or that way? Because I already know potentially what's going to happen. So can I listen to and trust my intuition? Can you share a bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. And I've come to learn that those dreams can be quite common, actually. Those dreams usually happen for the parents or the mother who is pregnant with the child. They're called announcing dreams. And people do have these experiences, and they don't always share, or they might share with like a trusted confidant. And so intuition can come to us in flashes of insight. It can come to us in dreams. It can come to us with precognitive awareness, whether we have some type of inner knowing, but often we suppress it, or we question it, or we push it down. And so for me, when I was a new occupational therapist, I heard about how you could positively affect somebody's health without physically touching them. And I learned about something called energy healing. So I started taking training in Qigong energy healing, which is working with the meridians of acupuncture and the energy system that also then connects with chakras and basically all the acupoints of acupuncture. And I was very skeptical at first, but then the more that I did this training and I worked with people, and sometimes they would fill out a health history, but they would forget to put information down. I would pick up in the session and I would share this information with them. And my gift seemed to be really about finding the psycho-emotional, spiritual, or energetic blocks of the individual. And also, because I'm not a physician, and here in the US, you can't diagnose without being a licensed medical doctor. And so I was careful to not do that. But I've since learned that there are medical intuitives who actually can make diagnoses, and very accurate ones. In fact, I got to interview a person who has done a research study and has shown that they can accurately assess people's energy and connect with their own being for information as well. So there's many ways to connect with it. And sometimes our intuition will speak to us where we are thinking about somebody, a really classic way. And there's also research on this. A couple ways I'll give examples is when you think about somebody, and this just happened to me last week with like 3 people on the same day, where their names just flashed in my head. And I thought, I wonder how Nikki's doing. So I call Nikki and she says, oh my gosh, I was just thinking of you. I wonder how Christina, and then it begs the question, who's thinking about whom first? And then I think about Christina, and then I call her and she's out at a football game with her kids and her parents. And she says, oh, I was just talking about you. So that's a real phenomena. Another way is when we think that maybe we're out in public and we think somebody is staring at us, a sense of being stared at. And there's actually evidence that shows that this is a real phenomena. And maybe, some people will say with biology, it's for survival or what have you, but, people can connect that way, right? Like if you go into a crowded room and 2 people across the room just lock eyes, or there's some type of connection. In fact, that happened to you and I this summer, Abby, when I met you. I saw you and I just saw a silhouette of your body and yourself. And I just thought, who is that? That is somebody who I need to get to know.
Oh, I feel honored. I feel honored. I love that you shared all the different ways that we can feel and sense and know our intuition, because it's like, oh yeah, that was my intuition, right? So, I would invite everybody to recognize the ways that your intuition is speaking to you right now. Like Em just gave some great examples of it. Like, what's your intuition telling you? Maybe even take a few moments to just kind of self-reflect. What do you think, Em?
Definitely. And so when I did that Qigong training, I met an intuitive, and that was around the time that I had those dreams that were so powerful for me, right? Because there's a lot of, since the advancements in mainstream medical science have allowed people to extend their lives, there are more people who have had near-death experiences. So people will have a flatline experience, or they are underwater for 30 minutes or more. For all intents and purposes, they should be dead, clinically dead, or if they get revived, they really should have extensive brain damage. And many of these people come back. One who I'm a huge fan of is Eben Alexander, where he was a neurosurgeon and had a bacterial meningitis and was in the ICU for about a week. And he had all these experiences of what he now shares are his experiences in heaven. And so people have these experiences of another dimension. And in my case, and many other people who have these announcing dreams, can have these experiences of a soul before they're actually in this earth plane. So I would just encourage people to trust that inner voice within you. And there are many ways that you may connect with your intuition. It could be through dreams. It could be through, like we said with your interview, we just did your interview before this, Abby, about clairvoyance, where you might have inner sight, or you might smell something, or you might feel clairescence, where you might have just this gut sense, or you might actually be an empath and feel somebody else's emotions. And those are ways that we can access this other way of knowing that is, I would say, in many ways more profound than logic and rationality, although I also do respect that aspect. And I think that you can use the two together as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, one of the things I want to highlight is that beautiful book behind you because you really go in depth how to develop your intuition in that. And one thing I love about it is it's so scientific. Like it really gives like the factual evidence of how intuition really works. So, for those of you that need the facts, that book is incredible. And it's also just like a step-by-step way to really connect with your intuition. So, what do you feel is like the main key point of your book for people that are wanting to read it?
Well, I think the main key point is that you already have your intuition. It's just, the title of the book is Intuitive Development, but it's sort of a misnomer because really intuition, when you connect with it, it's just really uncovering something that's deep. Well, not deep. Sometimes it's just on the surface, but we're not completely aware of it, but uncovering this part of you that really is your authentic you, your authentic self. So in the book, I give many different ways and exercises to do that because let's face it, even though we are all similar in a lot of ways, we also have a lot of diversity and we have different ways and that we are able to more easily receive the information of how to trust your intuition. And I did paint this heart on the cover because, like Abby, your interview, it's really a journey into the heart. It's a journey into love. It's a journey into self-love and loving yourself, but also loving others. And so, similar to your interview, being able to drop into your heart space and into that part of you that is unconditional love is really a simple way to connect with your intuition because we can get caught up in thinking, judging, worrying, and being analytical, being negative, having emotions, and I do respect that people have PTSD or trauma, and I've experienced that in my life as well, and I worked with thousands of people, and that's where in my book I really share how you can access your intuition, but you can also use it as a tool for healing because as you kind of shovel out the layers or the crap that keeps you from connecting with your intuition, you heal and you more authentically come to that loving part of you, and you can have more joy and peace in your life, in health, relationships, spirituality, feeling safe and abundant, and really being able to have more meaning and purpose and following those dreams and goals that you are really drawn to, that you have passion and desire for in your life.
Mhm. Yeah, I often think about intuition as like the soul embodied, like that infinite essence, and that it's so loving, right? That's what when you talk about all those things, I'm like, yeah, it's just, it's natural. It's that loving presence within us, is what I feel it. Do you feel it to be that?
Oh, very much so. And I think that one of the main ways to actually access your intuition is through quieting the mind. And a formal way to do that is through meditation. Now, I know some people might groan, or some people say, I'm not a good meditator. Well, I would just say you haven't had a good meditation teacher, or you haven't found methods that work for you in that regard.
Yeah.
And quieting the mind is just a simple way to become more still so that you can hear and listen to
Yeah.
what you already know within yourself. And I know that there can be times in life, and I totally respect this because I've had, like many of you listening, significant loss or changes in my life. And sometimes it felt like, although one could argue, we choose our destiny or our own experiences, but it can feel like those choices were made for us without our permission or consent. And you can feel like you just want to scream to the universe of what's going on. And
Right.
so in those times, I actually had that moment when I was a new healthcare professional that I just thought, oh my gosh, it was very difficult to get into this program. It was a lot of work to do this. I worked really hard. Why is it not sticking when I'm going out now and working in these hospitals and clinics and skilled nursing facilities? And it was because there was more on my journey to explore. But even in that anguish and pain, and even times wondering if I even wanted to continue on this earth, I was able to cultivate my intuition through meditation, through energy healing exercises, going out in nature. That's where it doesn't have to be so difficult. I've come to learn that sometimes we try too hard in life, or we try too hard to get a goal, or we even try too hard to access our intuition. And I know, Abby, you mentioned this in your Touch the Light, your beautiful Touch the Light book, that is there's a paradox that we also need to let go, because as we let go, we can actually access all of ourselves as well. And I know that that can be a journey as people go forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it is. It's letting go of what we don't need so we can actually rise with what we do need, right? Which is going to be our soul's purpose, guided by our intuition. And I think that I know your book is just so full of just wisdom and resources. So it's part of it. It's like opening the door to something even greater, because you teach intuitive development classes and you also work one-on-one. I mean, I've actually done some work with Emmy and she's just spot on. And so I just invite anybody who's maybe questioning, like, why is something going the way it is? She'll give you a very wise, elevated perspective that you'll find is accurate, even at the time if you're like, what? But she's really, really accurate.
Thank you for that, Abby. And so are you. You've given me some guidance with intuition recently that was incredibly helpful in my life. And that's the thing with intuition, is that why I've come to respect it so much is that it is always accurate. When you really do connect with your intuition, it is the truth.
Totally.
And what you just said, I know you went through a recent change in your life. And when we go through that transition, sometimes we think, but wait a minute, this is what I was supposed to be doing. Why are things changing? And it's possible that maybe there is something that needs to be adjusted within yourself to stay where you are. That's totally legitimate. And there's also times where if you connect with your intuition, it's giving you a different answer. It's because it's your soul is wanting to go in another direction. Your soul is wanting to expand to your own true self. And I do believe that why I think so many people are experiencing, or one of the reasons why I think people are experiencing so much anxiety, depression, and just kind of a general malaise. I mean, I understand, we're seeing the outer evidence with our climate, the earth, and all of that, is that I think that people are not fully aligned with their true selves. I think we get bits and pieces of it. And this is why I'm so happy to talk with all of you and to talk with you, Abby, is because you can trust your intuition. And the more that you do the various exercises, and the more frequently you do them, and the more time you allow yourself to really sink into them, rather than thinking, I just got to do this quickly and then I got to get on with my day, it's actually sinking into them. And then, like we talk about, or yoga talks about yoga on and off the mat, it's actually taking what you've cultivated from your time, maybe in meditation or going for a walk in nature, or just sitting and daydreaming and watching the clouds, is that you take that into your life, and then you can live your intuition, and then you can connect with that. Sometimes it's referred to as the higher self, because when we're feeling crappy or sad, we can have a very narrow view of what is best for us. And when we can settle past that, there's a really great saying in the Tao Te Ching about, I'm paraphrasing here, I should have this memorized by now, but it's something like, can you sit long enough so you can let the mud in the water of your mind to become clear? And to me, that really describes what intuition is that we can be striving, we can be trying, we can maybe have an intuitive hit but not trust it, and then overthink it, or have fear, or have doubt. And I do think Jesus was right, is that if you have faith, you can walk on water. And what I've learned with intuition over the years is that as you can dial in how you intuit, because everybody's different. Some people see, some people hear, some people feel, some people do all of it, but just might have some senses that are stronger. And then you actually have experiences that validate that for you. You're going to listen to it in the future. And then as you do, it will just get stronger. So it's like a self-reinforcement process, the more that you listen to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that question you asked me, what have you gained from following your intuition in your life? I think it's a great question. And what I'd like to add is, what have you been able to create? What have you gained and what have you created from following your intuition?
Yeah. At this point in my life, I would say everything. And I would just also add that for those listening, that to think about a time in your life that you made a choice that felt right, you followed it, and in hindsight, looking in the rear view mirror, 2020 vision, it was right. So
Yeah.
for me, one of those was going to college. I know for Abby, it was not going to college.
That's right.
For me, it was choosing my life partner. Um, some of my very best, closest friends, including Abby here today. So when you think back when you made those decisions, usually you're going to find you were in the flow. And how did you come to make that decision? And how did you know that it was right? And how did it become validated for you over time? So to answer your question,
Yeah.
I really gained an inner compass. I made a connection with my own inner best friend. I have made a connection with the part of me that when I can let the mud settle is
Yeah.
always accurate so that I can make the best choices. And one of the methods that one of my teachers, my intuitive teacher, spiritual teacher taught me is to make intuitive cards. And so that's actually described in my book with her permission. And it's a great way. It's kind of similar to tarot. It's a great way to allow images to come forth in your mind. And I know there's guided imagery and different exercises, meditation that can help you also access those inner image or do dream incubation, basically meaning that you're programming to have a dream around a particular topic. There's methods to do that as well. But what I like about these cards is that they can help you get in touch with getting answers around questions you have, even if you are feeling maybe not as emotionally or mentally centered as you would like to be that day. And let's face it, how often are you feeling 100%, energetically, emotionally, spiritually as centered as you can be in your life? And then you can get guidance on how to go forward. And as I've done that and worked with now many people, I'm just blown away at how accurate it can be. And then what happens is that you might find you don't need the cards as often, or you gain a sense of confidence within yourself that I have not found any other way that can be taught. In fact, I know Abby, and one of the reasons I love Abby so much is because you are bringing the younger generation into alignment with trusting their intuition. And I feel that by having people trust their intuition, you can go on then and live your most authentic, joyful life with meaning and purpose. And if you do that, we're going to have a much happier world. You're going to live more joyful. The people around you, we think we're not animals. We're animals. The creatures around us, the animals, the plants. In that process, I really would love to see intuition taught, intuitive development in universities and colleges. Why not?
Yeah.
We have
Absolutely.
logic classes, philosophy classes. If you look at the philosophers and you look at the essence of most philosophy, you're going to come to intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Yeah. So much just good stuff, just soaking it up. I just invite everybody to take a moment just to feel your own intuition, listen to everything that Emmy said, and just feel your connection because you
Mhm.
can feel the truth within you.
Yeah, and kind of dovetailing on your
Yeah.
exercise of going into the heart, Abby, my teacher taught me to do that as well.
Yeah.
And if people want to, if you're not driving, so if you're driving, just please don't do this because we want you to, or engaging in any activity that requires your full attention, make sure you get to a stationary, static place. And I'll
Yeah.
just take a few moments to do this, but essentially you can just take a moment to connect with your breath and just notice how you're feeling in and around your body. Notice your thoughts, your emotions, and your body sensations. And imagine being inside your physical heart. So just noticing how your heart feels. And imagine that you are inside your heart and connecting with that light and love of who you are, your own true, some people might say your own divine essence. Even if you feel you're making that up, even if you're really angry with somebody today, Bob Thurman, who is a good friend of the Dalai Lama, I've had the great pleasure of interviewing him. He says, if you're going to be angry, do it with joy.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
So however you're feeling, just go into that part, that heart space that is maybe full of gratitude, light, love, joy, and visualize that light either as like a beam of light, a campfire, a crystal chandelier, a diamond, or it could be a topaz or some gemstone or color. And then just simply visualize that that's going straight up into the center of your mind, and what some may refer to as the third eye or the sixth chakra. And allow a harmony and balance to emerge between your head and your heart. And you can continue on your own for as many seconds or minutes you would like to do that. I know I'm feeling, I mean, I felt really pretty calm and peaceful before that, but I feel even more, as you would say, resonance. How do you feel, Abby?
I felt the same thing, like the harmony and the peace and the balance is what the three words that came to mind. I actually felt with other people. So as you were saying, your mind and your heart, I felt connected to other people in that place of harmony, peace, and love. So yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Wow. So moving forward, how can people connect with you more? What's the best way to reach out to you and just learn more?
My website is my name. So it's emmyvadnais.com. So it's spelled like the award, Emmy Award. It's EMMYVADNAIS.com. And there you will see how to get in touch with me with my contact form. You can also purchase my book through there or through various formats. It's on Amazon and other places where books are sold. And then I'm also offering a class this fall starting on October 28th of 2023 that will meet for 4 Saturdays for a total of about 8 hours. And you can go to the classes page to learn more about that and to register for that. And I think that I'm doing my best to keep that affordable, but I'm also will be offering a gift for all of you who are joining. So just go ahead and we will get out a coupon, or I will give you information on how to get a discount on that for joining.
That's online, right? Anybody can do that class wherever they are, correct?
That class is online and we'll be meeting just like how you and I are here through Zoom. It'll be recorded, so then it will be shared with those who would like to view it after the live class as well.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that class? I'm being guided just to help other people understand what it's going to be specifically about. Like each class, to me, I feel it's going to be kind of a step-by-step process because I know you well enough that you're an expert in teaching intuition, that it's going to give them the basics to be able to develop even more of what they already know.
Well, the essence of the class and of my book is really to understand how you intuit and to trust it, to apply it into your life and get the results. I mean, to harmonize with yourself, and you can also develop your spirituality. So sometimes you may not necessarily feel you're goal oriented. Maybe for you, you just want more peace, or maybe you want to feel more confident, or maybe you feel like, gosh, I feel like I don't always make the best choices, or I want to make the best choices I can make. And I do believe that that's the alignment with intuition, is that you will make the best choices for your and those concerned greatest, highest good and greatest joy as well. So in the class, it really mirrors how the book is laid out. So I recommend that people get the book and read along with it through the class, although you don't have to do that, but I think you'll get the most out of the class if you do that. And then we'll go through different methods and exercises for you to discover how you intuit. What is your strongest way of intuiting, and to expand on that. And through the course, you will strengthen your development with it and your trust with it. So it will involve, so for example, I mentioned cards. It might be meditation or relaxation exercises. Sometimes it's just through dialogue. So you'll actually get to interact with me, and you'll get more of a more personal, cultivated method of how you can get more confidence with your intuition. And who doesn't love love, right? So that's a big, again, I've got a heart on the cover of my book. So in that class, I will say I'll guarantee that you're going to get more in touch with love. You're going to feel more love for yourself. You're going to feel maybe there's some blocks you have in your life that are keeping you from having a loving relationship with yourself, a loving relationship with your friends or family members, or maybe your coworkers, and that you can have more joy in life and sleep better and eat better and all the good things that come with being in alignment with your true authentic self.
Yeah, no, I just know you can help anybody clear any block that they have because I just know you. And it's just so nice to know that there is a solution. So if you're experiencing a problem or a challenge or a block, Emmy's program is just incredible to be able to help you clear those so you can feel free, you can feel amazing, you can have that sense of fulfillment and happiness and bliss and joy, all those good feelings, which is really another reason why we're doing this summit, is to help you feel the joy of following your intuition, right? And when you trust that inner knowing within you, that's a natural result, is to feel that joy and that happiness. And I wanted to circle back to you. So just a little more about your story and how, you started, followed, and you continued to grow it, just because, like I shared with you in my interview, like I believe integrity is really about practicing what we're preaching, right? Like really being it. And I know you are that. So I'd love for you to share with the audience, like a few more stories about how, you really kind of allowed your intuition to just move through you and, create your beautiful life.
Oh, well, thank you. Around that time when I was working with my intuitive teacher, my spiritual teacher, and my Qigong teacher, who actually, my Qigong teacher trained with medical doctors, I think it was in Beijing, in hospitals in China. And so I had a really great education in that as well. I would say that it helped me to recognize that I wanted to go deeper into the healing arts. So for years, I called myself an intuitive healer. I now am also calling myself an intuitive coach. So meaning intuitive healer, just like Abby and I were talking about, frequently there are areas where we have stumbling blocks that keep us from trusting our own inner knowing. For some people, it might be that you were raised in a particular spiritual practice or religion that you need some healing with in order to feel that you can have a more personal connection with yourself and the divine. For others, it might be that you suffered neglect or abuse. For some, it might be that you have an addiction. Maybe you overwork. Maybe you use substances. Maybe you have an attachment to something that's getting in the way of you being able to trust yourself. So an intuitive healer, I think, is someone who can help remove those blocks so that you can authentically connect with yourself more. So in that process, I went to massage school. I became a reflexologist. I continued on. So you mentioned in your interview where I interviewed you, Abby, I think you mentioned that something about me having a PhD in intuition. And wouldn't it be fabulous if, for those who are interested, could actually get a PhD in it? Not that people need that. Abby's proof of that. I'm proof of that. However, I feel like I have a customized PhD at this point in holistic and integrative health and intuition. So in that process, I took a very unconventional path. Now, Abby is in the Mecca, at least here in the US, of following, your heart and what's formerly known as complementary alternative medicine. I'm not. I'm in Minnesota. And so it took a while. When I was growing up, it was so funny. We talked about how like movies and fashion would take a year or two to get to landlocked Minnesota from like California, the coast. But I was in an area, or am in an area, where I was one of the first people to provide energy healing over 20 years ago now, here in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. So I really went against the grain of what was socially acceptable from a religious sort of cultural standpoint, from my upbringing of my background of, get a college education, although my parents were always very supportive of me doing what I wanted to do. And so I took a very unconventional path, and I really felt like on the tarot card, there's the Hermit. I really felt like I had a lamp in front of me or a flashlight with my intuition. I didn't know where I was going a lot of the time, but my intuition shone that light on the path so that I could keep going forward. And it was scary at times, and it was full of a lot of stress at times. So I'm hopeful that what Abby and I are doing with the Intuition Summit, what she's doing with the Intuitive Child, with what I'm doing with my intuitive development and coaching and training programs, is that it doesn't have to feel so, you don't have to feel so alone on the journey. Because I know for me, even though it was helpful, there were times that I was doing something, at least in healthcare, that was not very accepted here in the United States. Of course, when you go to other indigenous cultures, or you go to Africa, or you go to other shamanic practices, this is just natural and innate to who they are. And so then I was able to be a part of a large program at a hospital here in Minneapolis that brought in holistic and integrative health. We were part of a large program that's still going today. And then I followed like Abby, going into practice for myself, which is not a path for everybody. But now I've had my own business cumulatively for over 20 years. And one of my family members says I have the best boss. I'm I'm my own boss.
Pretty
So
much.
yeah, but those are just some examples of how it's helped me when I've really gone against the grain. But then now, so many more people are recognizing this path with intuition. So many more people are recognizing the benefits of it and of natural and holistic health.
Yeah. I think I've joked with you before when I was 19, it was 20 years ago. I'm like, oh, it's, like, what is intuition now? 20 years later, people are like, oh, intuition is the thing, right? So I sometimes think that we're, leading the next fad, the next thing that's amazing, so it's just, you have to trust that sometimes your intuition obviously knows something and people catch up to it. So it's like really to inspire everybody to follow what what your intuition is telling you now. Because like Em says, it's like, the next step and then the next step, right? It will unfold as you take that step, just like you did,
Yeah, and then you can trust it more, so that now I know when
Right.
I'm ready to settle into meditation, or I can, depending on the day or how much I've been able to do some of my yogic or meditative or prayer practices in the day, sometimes I can just drop right in with clients. I do that because I will assess their energy, or drop right into what's going on for them. It
Right.
often can happen more quickly when I'm working with others, because we're not so much have to go through some of our own stuff as much, that I trust what I'm receiving.
Yeah.
And it's really, this is just another way of knowing. And like I said earlier, we need to, or I think it's beneficial to respect logic, and I do value science, and I do value mainstream medicine. However, it's not the only game in town. And we need to be careful that we're not over relying on what we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and what we perceive as the physical world, because really, this is consciousness. Our intuition is pure consciousness. And what we experience in our perceived outer world is just a manifestation of our inner spirit and our consciousness. And the more that we can be in alignment with our authentic soul, the more that we're going to be in flow with our lives. And I'm not suggesting that means that people won't still experience challenges or hardships, because sometimes, despite your best efforts, maybe there's some sort of karmic lesson there for you, or experience to have, or something within you that just needs more attention or more healing in order for you to go forward in a more harmonious way.
Is there anything else you would like our audience to know? Anything else you'd like to share with them?
I would like to share that I think that the unique perspective I've been able to recognize is how much the methods that can help you cultivate your intuition can also help you with healing. Healing means to be whole and complete, and to recognize the wholeness of who you are. And working with myself with personal development, which obviously I'm a fan of, and helping people professionally for many years, that it really is a journey into self-love, and that often whatever wounds, barriers, blocks, or healing you have to do or is in your way, it's usually around some way that you're not fully unconditionally loving and accepting yourself. And the more that you can align with, I know it sounds kind of trite to some, unconditional love, 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 love. Well, it's really getting into the feeling state. Like I just guided you in with the heart. It's really being love. Like Ram Dass says, he has a book, he's got the classic book, Be Here Now. And he's got the other book, Be Love.
Yeah.
So the more that you can allow yourself to think of what would love do, or to choose love, whether you're thinking, oh gosh, I don't want to just sit and meditate for hours. Well, you can start out just maybe 5 minutes a day, or maybe just taking a nice conscious breath in and out and thinking, putting your hand on your heart and just connecting with that, and then expanding that. The more that you are going to be in that state. So just, I would like all of you to recognize it doesn't have to be like this big thing, that it can be very simple. And that's why I give a lot of exercises in my book. And I think why Abby and I talk about the heart. And actually, it's so when I was making the banner for our summit, it was so fun because all of our mine and Abby's logos are have hearts in them. And so that just is evidence of connecting with that part of you.
Yeah. And it's so natural. That's why I think, you've said it's really not that hard and you don't have to try hard. You're already doing it. You're already intuitive. These are just ways to reconnect with what's already there. It's like taking a deep breath. Oh, that was easy. I already do that, So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And finding out the ways that you get caught up in negative thinking or worrying. I think the more that you can quiet those parts and also give that part of you that might have those wounds, those attention, your intuition is going to develop much more easily and at a much more rapid pace.
Yeah, the more love you bring in, the faster you grow. I love that. Very cool. Well, we're so glad that you're joining us for this summit. We have amazing speakers coming up for you, and we just wanted to introduce you to it and just let you get to know us a little better. If you have any questions, you can email us. What email should we give our audience and to reach out to us if they have any questions about the summit? You're welcome to email me if you want.
Yeah, so I have a contact form on my emmyvadnais.com website, and you can certainly send a message there, and I will do my best to respond. I have to admit, I've been getting so much in my inbox lately that I can't always respond to everybody, but of course, if you're needing help with joining the summit, we'll do our best to get back to you.
Yeah, if she doesn't, you can email me at success@lifeforceconnection.com. One of us will email you. But we really are happy to have you part of it and look forward to helping you develop your intuition. All right, everyone. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.